Okay, sir. All right, greetings of the class. Let's begin with today's topic. But before going to the topic, let's recapitulate what we have studied in our previous class. Okay, in our previous class, we have just completed our chapter number 2, that is matter around us pure? Okay, basically the chapter was quite big and very informative, because in this topic we have studied so many different things like mixture, the types of mixture, homogeneous and heterogeneous, and besides that colloids or aerosols and many more things. Okay, physical and chemical change was the last topic which we have studied, and which was totally based on the chemical composition. Okay, so we have just completed our chapter. We are left with only the last topic, that is known as the types of pure substances. Okay, so the types of pure substances is somewhat which is known as we have to define that our pure substance, which was actually the first topic of this chapter. It has two different types. Okay, the first one is known as element, whereas the second one is known as compounds. Okay, so basically we need to define on the basis of the composition, on the basis of, we can say, constituent particle, what our pure substance can be divided into. Okay, so we basically want to say that how our pure compound can be differentiated. Okay, and we have just two different types of the pure substances, that is known as element as well as compound. Okay, so we will keep going with the two topics. Meanwhile, I'm just start with the first topic, that is element. So we are going to discuss what is an element and what it actually wants to convey us. All right, so let's begin with the topic, that is the types of pure substances and the basically element. Okay, so the element is something which was defined by many scientists. Many scientists tried to define the element, but finally a French chemist finally gave us a fulfilled definition of element, and he defined that element may be defined as something which is the smallest or the purest form of a matter. I'm again repeating, according to that particular scientist, element is something which is the basic form of matter and cannot be broken down further by any kind of reaction. If I'm talking about chemical changes or physical changes, if I'm saying that there is an element, that means it is the basic form of matter, it is the smallest form of matter which further cannot be divided, which further cannot be broken down into smaller pieces only by if we're taking our physical changes or chemical changes. All right, that is known as our element. Okay, so class, this is something which is known as element. Let me give you some example which would further elaborate your topic, which will further elaborate your concept with what actually an element wants to say us. Okay, will you go to your higher classes, like we have to study about our different type of elements, we have come to know that scientists have discovered many elements, out of which almost more than 100, or I can say up to 112 elements have been known to us. That means we have studied 112 elements. That's a approx idea. It keeps changing. It keeps increasing or decreasing, because not every element has been completely defined. Okay, it has not been completely studied. So the point is that we have taken more than 100 elements, we have studied about them, and out of which almost 90 are natural. They're found and they are created by our nature, by our universe, whereas the rest are man-made. That means these are something which are also known as radioactive elements. Yani these are the artificial element which man have created just to get advantage from them. Okay, so this was something which I want to describe you. Now, as I have defined element, as I have given you that the pure substances have two different types, same as it is, our elements can be differentiated into three different types, okay, which are known to be metals, non-metals, and metalloids. All right, so let's define element and the types of different elements, which are metal, non-metal, and metalloids. Okay. I hope you have heard all the names, that what actually metal is, what actually a non-metal is. You have studied these old topics in your lower classes. I think in 7th and 8th classes, you have got a little bit idea. Okay. Today also we will just get the basic information about these three, because in your higher classes, especially in 10th class, you will get a particular complete chapter only on metals and non-metals. Okay. But right now for your syllabus, we have to just get the basic information of metals as well as non-metals. Okay, so let's begin with this particular topic, what actually metal and non-metal wants to convey us. See, if I want to define metals and non-metals, you have understood that there are some basic properties of them. The metals and the non-metals, they have some basic properties, they have some basic terms and conditions. Let me define. First, I'm going to deal with the metal. See, the metal is something which has a shiny appearance, or I would say it has a lustrous property. That means metals are something which shows reflection whenever light falls over it. You know? They have a polished, a smooth surface which can be used in our daily life for our advantages. For example, copper, gold, silver, platinum. These all are metals, and you know very well that they have a very shiny and a very lustrous appearance. Okay. Same as it is, if I would define to its second property, it is also known as that they are the good conductors of light and heat. Heat and light. They are known to be good conductors. Okay. You must have heard that our gold, platinum, copper, they are very good conductors of heat and light. So that's why we have been using the copper wires. You know? We have been using the copper wires in our home, in our office or something, like we are using them in our daily lives. The reason behind this is they are very good conductor of heat as well as light. All right. Same as it is, if I'm going to the third point, the third point says that they have so many properties known as malleable and ductile. Now, what is malleable property and ductile property? The meaning of malleable and ductile is that whenever we beat these metals, they can be converted into thin sheet as well as the thin wires. Okay, so I'm just telling you that they have so many properties, so many different aspects which have given us the idea about metals, about their basic properties. Okay, so they have the shiny appearance, they are the good conductors of heat and light, as well as they are malleable and ductile. Malleable means if we start to beat our metal, they can be easily converted into a thin sheet. And same as it is, if I'm converting, I want to beat them, if I want to convert them, they can be easily converted into wires. For example, if I'm talking about gold, only 1 gram of gold, if I'm going to beat this, it can be easily converted into almost 2-kilometer wire. Okay, this is a little bit shocking, but this is the actual reason, this is the actual truth, that metals have so much ductile property. All right. Now let's begin with our next topic. What non-metal is. Class, I have already given you the example, and I hope you have got the idea of metal. That suppose I'm talking about the copper, gold, platinum, these all are metals. Okay. Now let's move to the non-metal. Non-metal is something which has almost opposite property to it. Okay. They don't have any kind of shiny appearance, but exceptions are quite over there. So the first point is don't have shiny appearance. Okay. And the second one is they are very, very bad conductor of light. We don't use our non-metal in the good as the conductor of heat and electricity. We do not create any kind of wire because they don't have that property also. They cannot be beaten into sheet. They cannot be converted into wire. They not are even good conductor of heat and light. So these are something which we do not see in our daily lives. Okay. So non-metals are those elements which are mainly based in the chemical laboratories, which are mainly used to create another substances, another compounds. Okay. That we would see in our next topic. That is, why do we need to study these elements, these metals? Okay. So I have given the old brief idea about metal. Same as it is, I am telling about the non-metal properties, that they do not have shiny appearance, they are bad conductor, and the most importantly, they are not showing any malleable or ductile property. Okay, so you have seen that these non-metals have almost opposite properties to the metal. They have almost the very different properties than metals. Okay, now if I want to exemplify it, I would say bromine, iodine, and chlorine, and many more. Okay, but I have told you that exceptions are everywhere. Okay, so if I want to further illustrate, further elaborate about the non-metals, I must say that there are some exceptions which are good conductor of light, and also they have a shiny appearance. Okay, you have heard about diamond. Have heard na diamond? Diamond is the most hardest substance, whereas non-metals are those which are not even hard substance. Metals are something which are hard, that's why they're beaten into the wire and the things, thin sheets. Okay, but non-metals do not even, they have the hard nature, they have shiny appearance, but diamond is something which is the most hardest element as well as the shiny appearance. Okay, exception are everywhere. Same as it is if I'm talking about graphite. You have heard about graphite. Our pencils are made up of graphite. The black thing by the help of which we write, that is made up of graphite. And that graphite is a good conductor of light. Okay, that graphite is a good conductor of light. So that is also an exception. Okay, so I'm also writing graphite also over here. Okay, so we have studied about metal as well as non-metal, and the last one we are left with metalloids. Now, what is metalloids? Metalloids are nothing. They have just the intermediate properties both of metal and non-metal. I am again repeating, the metalloids are those substances which have the intermediate properties of metal and non-metal. That means I want to say about them that they show some properties of metal and some properties of non-metal. They are in the mid-range between metals and non-metals. Okay, and the example are silicon, germanium. I hope you have heard about the silicon. What is silicon? Silicon is the most abundant element on our earth crust. Okay, जिसको हम रेत भी बोलते हैं, that is silicon. Okay, and that is metalloid, not even metal, not even non-metal. Okay, so you can take an idea, a brief exemplify that what is actually a non-metal means. All right, class. So the metals, non-metals, and metalloids, these all are three different forms of elements which further cannot be broken down, which further cannot be pieced down into small pieces. Okay, so these are all about metal, non-metal, and metalloids. And I have given you the idea that most of the elements are solids, except one, two, that is bromine. Bromine is liquid. And if I'm talking about a metal, mercury. Mercury is a metal which is liquid at room temperature. Otherwise, all metals are solid in it. Okay, so I'm just going to rub this topic because we have done with the element. Now let's move to our next topic that is very important and quite interesting, which is known as compounds. All right. So let's start. What is a compound and how are they different from elements as well as mixture? Okay, let's see. Let me define what is a compounds. Okay, I have just told you about elements, metal, non-metal, metalloids. Now, what is a compound? What are the compounds want to define to us? What they want to say to us? Let's see. Basically, bache, the compounds are the substances. They are also substances, but the point is they are something which can be made from the element. So if I want to define the compound, if I want to give the exact definition of compound, I would say they are made up by combination of different elements and the most importantly, they have the fixed chemical composition. Okay, so this is known as compound. So I would define again compound. Compound is something which is made by, which is created by the combination of elements, of different elements, and most importantly, they have the fixed chemical composition. Okay, so let me further illustrate it with the help of examples, and we will also see how is it different from the mixtures. Okay, for example, water. For example, sodium chloride. Now, if I'm talking about water, it has 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Same as it is if I'm talking about sodium and chloride, it has 1 sodium and 1 chloride. The hydrogen, the oxygen, both are non-metals, the first point. Second, these are the elements. Okay, I have told you now that elements have 3 different natures: metals, non-metals, metalloids. Okay, so hydrogen and oxygen, they both are non-metals, but the best point is they have been in a fixed chemical composition. All right, same as it is if I'm talking about sodium chloride. Sodium is our metal and chlorine is our non-metal. That means compounds doesn't mean that we have to combine only 2 metal or 2 non-metal. We can combine a metal with non-metal or a metal with metalloid, non-metal with metalloid, different observation. But the main property is they must have the fixed chemical. They must have the fixed chemical composition. For example, if I have taken the example of water, if I am adding 3 mole of hydrogen with 1 mole of oxygen, that is not water. Please keep that in mind. We have to create it only a fixed chemical composition. Okay, class, this was all about compounds. Now, you must have a query in your mind that mixture is also something which is made up by mixing of 2 or more elements, and compound is also the same property. Then how the mixture and compound are different to each other? Okay, so we are going to move with our next topic, the differentiation between compounds and elements. Okay, because both are made up of elements now, both are made by mixing of 2 or more elements. Okay, bache. So now we are going to study what is the difference between our compounds as well as mixture. Okay, so that's the next topic. What is the difference between mixture and compounds? Okay, I hope you have must heard about mixture. We have learned that, we have understood that, but I hope you have got the idea that mixture was something which were made up by mixing of 2 elements, 2 or more elements, but there was not a fixed composition. बन रही है जी बात? Mixture are also made up by combination or mixing of 2 or more elements, same as it is if I'm talking about my compounds. They're also made up of by combination of 2 or more different elements, but the only reason is they have the fixed chemical composition, but they do not have any kind of fixed chemical composition. Keep that in your mind. This is the main difference between our mixture and compounds. Okay, so I can say they do not have fixed composition. That means they have variable composition. That means their chemical composition always keep changing. Okay, for example, sodium chloride in water. Whenever I'm going to dissolve my sodium chloride in water, this is known to be a mixture, but we don't have any fixed chemical composition right here. I can take 5 grams of sodium chloride into 100 grams of water. If I want, I can take 2 grams in 200 ml of water. Okay, so there is not a fixed composition. This is on us how we want to dissolve it. Okay, so this is known as mixture. That means they have a variable composition. Their chemical composition keep changing. All right, bache? So this was all about mixture and compound. And if I want to further give some difference, I can say the second point is they have the nature of their constituents. What does it mean? It means the components by which our mixture has been still the property after they have been mixed, after they have been dissolved. Okay, it seems interesting now. See, for example, if I'm talking about sodium chloride in water, I have dissolved sodium chloride in water. The sodium chloride is salt that has salty taste, and the water is, you know very well, it has the tasteless and colorless property. So whenever I am going to dissolve my sodium chloride into water, we have mixed them, we have dissolved them. After even getting the mixture, it has both the nature of sodium chloride and water also. It still has the salty nature, it still has the salty taste, and yes, of course, it has water also. Okay, so this is something I want to emphasize. I want to focus on this particular topic, that in the mixture they have the nature of their components, of their constituents, but compounds में ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. This is nothing. So I would say no nature of components. All right, and I have given you the example also. Third most important difference between these two is mixtures are something which can be separated by physical method, but they can be only separated by chemical methods. Now, bache, you know very well that in the last topic in our previous class, we have just covered the topic centrifugation, filtration, evaporation, sedimentation, and many more. Okay, so if I'm talking about my sodium chloride into water, it can be easily converted into sodium chloride as well as water by evaporation. That is a physical process. We're just heating it, the water is getting evaporated, and we are left with sodium chloride, that is salt. So we have separated both our components. Okay, so that means our mixture can be easily separated out. They can be easily converted back to their original form by physical methods. But इनमें ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Like if I'm talking about sodium chloride, क्या मैं उसको हीट करूंगी तो सोडियम और क्लोराइड अलग अलग हो जाएगा? No, that's impossible. और अगर मैं इसको filter करने की कोशिश करूंगी with the help of a sieve or something, I want to sediment it, would the sodium and chloride would be separated out? No, it's not even possible. Sodium chloride is something which is made up by fixed chemical composition, so they can be only changed by chemical methods, like by passing electricity into it, by electrolysis, which are the topics which are very beyond out of your syllabus. Okay, but you must have the idea, you must remember that these 3-4 differences are which explain the difference between compounds as well as mixture. Okay, class? So this was the topic which I wanted to explain to you. It was very interesting and easy topic in which we have studied the difference between elements, compounds, and the mixture. Okay, same as well, we have studied that the elements are something which have 3 different forms, that is metals, non-metals, and metalloids. All right, class? So this was the whole topic, your chapter. Now we are just going to conclude it by taking your back exercise question. Okay, you have got the idea, bache, that we have just completed all our in-text question from your NCERT book. From your NCERT book, we have done all your in-text question. Now we are going to done with it with only the back exercise. Okay, so let's see 2 or 3 more examples, and then we would wrap up the class by taking your queries. All right, let's start. Let's see with the first exercise question, which is very simple, and I must think that you all should know the answer of this. So I hope that you all should have known the answer. Okay, so let's see with the back exercise question number 1. The question number 1 is very simple. have dealt in our last question, last topics. The question is the separation techniques. The back exercise of chapter 2. Okay, so the first question is we have given so many different mixtures as well as compounds, and we want to see that how they are being differentiated, how they can be separated from their original form. Okay, we have solution also, we have colloids also, we have homogeneous, heterogeneous mixture. Okay, let's take first example. The first example is the sodium chloride from its solution in water. We have just dealt with this topic, that whenever we have been dissolving our sodium chloride into water, this can be easily separated by the evaporation. Okay. Now the second one is ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride from mixture of sand and salt, or I'm saying only the sand. The sand and salt would be a little bit complex. Okay, so we have the ammonium chloride which have been mixed with sand, or I can say salt also. Okay, so now bache, you must keep in that in your mind, that as we have discussed about the camphor. Camphor, what was the camphor? Camphor was a sublime. And who are the sublimes? Which are the compounds which are known as sublimes? Sublimes are something which can be easily converted from the solid to the gas without changing into its liquid state. These are known as our sublimes. Okay, so as simple as the camphor is a sublime, same as it is ammonium chloride is also a sublime, which can be converted by sublimation process. Okay, and we have studied this topic in very detail, like we have separated our camphor from salt. Same as it is, we can separate our ammonium chloride from our salt. Okay, so this was all about this question. Now the third point is small engine oil of a car. So that means we have solids, a very big piece that is in oil or in a liquid. So it seems very easy by the help of filtration. So simple. We can easily filter. The oil would be separated out by the filtration, and in the upper part we would left with our solid metal pieces. Okay. Now let's start with the next question. Different pigments from an extract of a flower petals. Okay, but this is very easy topic and important also. I hope you have heard about this. This topic tells us that in whenever we are separating our different color pigments, and the point here is, bache, when we have different color pigments, there is only one technique that is known as chromatography. Remember na? Chromatography was something which have the separation which can be easily separated. All right, so class, I was talking about chromatography. Chromatography is something by which we can easily separate out our different elements which are based on different color composition. Okay, so if I'm talking about flower petal, that means their pigments are based on different colors, and we can easily separate out with the help of chromatography. Okay. Same as it is, we have some other example like butter from curd, oil from water, and you all know that these have been studied in our previous topics in our textbook also. Okay, like butter from curd, it's separated from centrifugation. Oil from water, it can be separated from separating funnel, and many more. Okay, so this was the first question which we have discussed. Now there are so many good questions, but I'll go with the question number 9, that is, which of the following will show Tyndall effect? I'm just gonna end up this particular topic, and then we will have your doubts and queries. The Tyndall effect. You know very well that Tyndall effect is only shown by colloids because they have the bigger particle in size. They have big particle in size, and they can easily scatter the light beam. So Tyndall effect is something which can be only shown by colloids, not by solution. Okay, and colloids example are milk, and we can say starch solution. Okay, so these are the topic which can, these are the compounds or elements which can be easily shown by the Tyndall effect only. Okay, so this was all about by my side class. We have completed the chapter number 2 with back exercise also. Now, if there is any kind of doubt or query, please ask to me. I'm open to your doubts and queries.